Escobar was a larger-than-life personality who, in years after his death, sparked a plethora of books, films, and television programs. Escobar's parents, a farmer and a teacher, relocated to Envigado, Colombia, a Medellin suburb, not long after he was born. He started a life of crime while he was still a teenager. He started by importing radio equipment, selling false degrees, and stealing gravestones to sell. Escobar was also a vehicle thief, and it was for this crime that he was taken into custody for the first time in 1974. Because Colombia is close to Bolivia, Ecuador, and Peru, which are important producers of coca, the plant from which cocaine is made, the cocaine business there has grown, and Escobar has been engaged in drug smuggling. He contributed to the establishment of the Medellin cartel in the middle of the 1970s. Escobar presided over the group, which specialized in manufacturing, distributing, and selling cocaine. His estimated net worth allowed him to live a life of opulence that included a 7,000-acre or 2,800-hectare estate in Colombia titled Hacienda Nápoles, after Naples, Italy, according to some accounts, was about $25 billion. It allegedly cost $63 million and included a tennis court, bullfighting arena, artificial lakes, soccer field, and dinosaur sculptures. There was a zoo on the grounds as well, home to camels, hippopotamuses, and giraffes, among other creatures. Escobar also contributed to several initiatives that helped the underprivileged, which led him to parallels to Robin Hood. In 1982, he was elected to a substitute seat in the nation's Congress thanks in part to this view. Such charitable endeavors, meanwhile, were tempered by Escobar's well-known cruelty. He dealt with issues using plata o plomo, which translates to silver, bribes, or lead bullets. The cartel allegedly planted a bomb on an airliner in 1989 to assassinate an accused informant. Over 100 individuals lost their lives. Escobar was the target of a large manhunt as the carnage increased, and the government also started to negotiate his surrender. Escobar turned himself up in June 1991. The same day, the Colombian Congress decided to prohibit extradition under the nation's new constitution and was subsequently imprisoned. However, his illegal behavior and way of life remained largely unaffected by his sentence. He was permitted to construct the opulent jail that is today known as La Catedral. The complex contained a nightclub, sauna, waterfall, soccer field, telephones, computers, and fax machines, among other amenities. Escobar was transferred to a less hospitable jail after he tortured and murdered 2 cartel members in La Catedral, however. Escobar fled from detention in July 1992 before he could be moved. The Colombian authorities began a search, apparently with assistance from American officials and competing drug traffickers. On December 2, 1993, Escobar reportedly enjoyed cake, champagne, and marijuana as he celebrated his 44th birthday. His refuge at Medellin was found the next day. Escobar and a bodyguard made it to the top as Colombian authorities attacked the building. Escobar was killed by gunfire during a subsequent pursuit and firefight. However, other people believed he committed suicide. The Medellin cartel quickly disintegrated once he passed away. Escobar was a larger-than-life personality who, in the years after his death, sparked a plethora of books, films, and television programs. Fabio Restrepo, a local drug boss in Medellin, was killed in 1975, allegedly on Escobar's instructions. Escobar extended his activities and assumed control of Restrepo's company after stepping into the power vacuum. Soon, Escobar was in charge of all organized crime in Medellin and was in charge of transporting up to 80% of the cocaine into the U.S. He was chosen to serve in Colombia's Congress in 1982. Escobar had achieved political, judicial, and economic dominance. Escobar didn't care about your social standing. If he wanted you out of the way, he would get you out of the way. He was suspected of being behind the 1985 assault on the Supreme Court by the 19th of April insurrectionist organization, which resulted in the deaths of numerous Supreme Court judges. He also allegedly ordered the assassinations of presidential candidates. On November 27, 1989, a bomb on Avianca Flight 203 was detonated by Escobar's cartel, leaving 110 people dead. A presidential contender who was the focus was not present. In addition to these well-known murders, Escobar and his group were also responsible for the killings of many judges, journalists, police officers, and even criminals who were part of their organization. Escobar was one of the most influential people in the world by the middle of the 1980s, and Forbes magazine ranked him as the 6th wealthiest person. A private zoo, mansions and apartments spread across Colombia, private airstrips and aircraft for the transportation of drugs, as well as an army of troops and criminals were all part of his vast empire. His fortune was estimated to be in the range of $24 billion. Escobar had the power to execute anybody, anywhere, at any time. He was a cunning crook who understood that his safety depended on how popular he was among Medellin's commoners. He thus invested millions in homes for Medellin's poorest residents, as well as parks, schools, stadiums, and churches. The ordinary people adored Escobar because they perceived him as a local lad who had achieved success and was giving back to his town, proving that his approach had been successful. When Escobar and some of his associates were apprehended after being caught returning from a drug run to Ecuador in 1976, it was his first significant run-in with the law. The arresting cops were killed on Escobar's command, and the case was quickly dismissed. Later, when Escobar was at the height of his power, it was nearly impossible for Colombian authorities to convict him due to his wealth and ruthlessness. Whenever an effort was made to curtail his authority, the perpetrators were bought off, killed, or otherwise neutralized. But the American government, which wanted Escobar extradited to face narcotics charges, was putting increasing pressure on Escobar to comply. To stop extradition, he had to use every ounce of his might. Due to mounting pressure from the U.S., the Colombian government and Escobar's attorneys came up with an intriguing plan in 1991. Escobar would surrender and be sentenced to 5 years in prison. He wouldn't be extradited to the U.S. or any place else in exchange for building his own. The Catedral's jails are a lavish fortification with a soccer field, waterfall, jacuzzi, and a complete bar. Escobar had also agreed to have the freedom to choose his own guards. He gave commands over the phone while operating his enterprise from within La Catedral. La Catedral was empty of other convicts. La Catedral is now in ruins after being destroyed by treasure hunters in search of lost Escobar wealth. Everyone was aware that Escobar was still conducting his business out of La Catedral, but in July 1992, it came to light that the drug lord had ordered the transport of a few rebellious employees, who were then tortured and executed there. Even the Colombian government found this to be too much. Therefore, arrangements were made to move Escobar to a regular jail. Escobar ran away and went into hiding because he was worried about being extradited. A massive manhunt was ordered by the local police and the U.S. government. By the end of 1992, two groups were looking for him: the Search Bloc, a specialized Colombian task force trained by the U.S., and Los Pepes, a covert group of Escobar's foes funded by the Cali cartel, his primary commercial adversary. Using American equipment, Colombian security authorities discovered Escobar on December 2, 1993, hiding in a house in a middle-class neighborhood of Medellin. Triangulating his whereabouts, the Search Bloc moved in and tried to apprehend him. However, Escobar resisted, and a firefight ensued. Escobar was later shot dead while trying to flee from the building from the rooftop. Escobar was struck in the leg and body as well, but the fatal bullet entered via his ear, leading many to conclude that Escobar killed himself. Others think that one of the Colombian police officers shot the target. Once Escobar was gone, the rival Cali cartel swiftly surpassed the Medellin cartel in strength. This situation persisted until the Colombian authorities dismantled the Cali cartel in the mid-1990s. The underprivileged in Medellin still regard Escobar as a benefactor. Numerous books, films, and television shows have been about him, such as Narcos and Escobar: Paradise Lost. The master criminal who once controlled one of the biggest drug empires in history continues to captivate a lot of people.